Le sprinkler.
Allô, Isabelle?
Salut.
Comment vas-tu?
Ça va très bien, toi?
Ça va bien, ça va bien. Merci d'être là et remplacer notre Mathieu national.
Ça fait plaisir.
Je pense que Mathieu avait d'autres priorités ce soir. I'm thinking we should switch to English. We have a very special guest on the sprinkler this time around. Hi, Lyssa.
Yes, the guest who sadly speaks only one language. It's my downfall. Sorry for you all.
Yeah, but we did more or less the same thing when we had Esther Derby on two weeks ago, and she basically said to us that she does speak French. She did speak French. We're like, oh, we didn't say anything nasty. Well, thank you very much for being there, Lyssa.
I'm really glad to be here. I really enjoy both of you, and I am curious to see what we talk about and what we discover together.
Yeah, there is a bit of a hint behind me. Perhaps we'll get into this book that I didn't know about, called Lead Together. Actually, one of the authors is a Canadian. He's from Toronto.
Yeah.
I forget his name. I wrote it down somewhere. Brett Lowe.
Brett Lowe.
Apparently, he's from Toronto. So nice Canadian product there.
Yes.
I still remember the first time we met. We already lost our co-host. That didn't last very long.
I know. This is the thing of of kids, spouses, dogs, work, all being in the same space. Yeah. It's all okay. It's all okay.
So yeah, I was telling Lyssa, I remember the first time we met in person anyways, because we actually communicated in 2009. And I had sent you an email.
Wow.
And you responded. I sent you an email saying, I would like to shadow you as you're coaching in an organization. And you responded by saying, well, I'm not coaching these days. I'm working on another project.
Which was the book, I'm pretty sure.
Oh, look at the two of you. That's like twin books. I love it.
So yeah, it was a very warm response. And a little later on, I invited you to Agile Coach Camp in Montreal in 2011. It was preceded by your training.
That's right. The very early days of the Coaching Agile Teams class and how that created a whole curriculum. Yeah.
It was with your partner at that time. I have a blank right now.
Michael Spade.
Michael Spade. That's right.
Yeah.
Michael Spade.
Yeah. That was a beautiful coach camp.
It was
really
fun. It was
good.
fun. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was stressful. Thankfully, I had some help from Isabelle, but it was It was more work than I wasn't supposed to organize it. The person that was supposed to organize it bailed out, and I said, "Okay, I'll do it. It's an open space, nothing to do really."
Yeah, right. So let me tell you a little story that you don't know.
Okay.
So, when I came back from that coach camp, my daughter loved the T-shirt, and remember it said coach in the back of the T-shirt.
Yeah, I wanted big.
And then she took it and did a tie-dye on it.
Really?
And so the tie-dye is all around the world for coach on the back, and she's been wearing it ever since.
Oh, that is cool.
It has been printed by Eric himself, these T-shirts.
Well, just so I had a gig somewhere as a coach, and just so happens they had a T-shirt printing machine in the back.
Oh, when you say he actually printed them, you mean he physically printed them? He didn't just order them?
No.
Oh, my goodness. I'm getting that T-shirt back from my daughter.
one after the other with a big press. I ordered the stencils, I guess you call it, and one by one printed them. I needed to save on cost because I wanted the coach camp to be free for everybody. That was my ultimate goal. So I worked hard to get sponsors. But in the end, I was still in the red, and two individuals came up to me, and you might know them, Lyssa Adkins and Michael Spade. And you asked me, you said, apparently you're in the red for coach camp. And I said, yeah, a little bit. And so you said, how much? I told you the amount, and you wrote me a check.
I don't remember that.
I remember. I'll always remember.
Really?
Yeah, you did.
That's amazing. I have no recollection of that whatsoever. That's really cool.
Yeah,
I'm kind of liking us. That's really awesome.
Yeah, kind of liking us. Yeah.
So you saved the event twice, because when we published the fact that you were there, oh my God, the registration started to it started to happen seriously, because before your appearance in the list, I mean, we were not even sure the event.
I'm so happy to hear that. I am so happy to hear that.
Yeah. I even had a before people start subscribing and all that. I had a conversation with the facilitator of the event, François Beauregard. I said, François, what if nobody comes? What if it's just the two of us? And François said, if it's just the two of us, it'll be a success.
Oh, I love that.
No more pressure. Done. Finished. That. Thank you. It was fantastic. It was great event. Great memories for sure.
For sure.
Then we saw each other here and there, Agile conferences. Absolutely.
We did. We've never worked together though.
No.
I mean, it's a great sadness that I know all these amazing people who have this positive impact on teams and organizations and their communities, and we never get to work together. So, who knows? I'm holding that out as a possibility.
Yeah. Are you doing any type of coaching right now?
I'm doing only coaching and consulting
right
now.
Yeah.
Yep. I'm not doing any teaching right now. So it's been a huge shift for me, like a really big shift.
Yeah.
Yeah. Why did you move that way? Why did you stop teaching?
Well, in the last few years that I was teaching, I really had the desire to, as I would say, get back on the ground. I want to get back on the ground where things are happening. And in fact, I was even out of line with my own integrity and my own sense of ethics, because I think that people who teach should be advancing their own practice and have practical experience all the time. But I, at the time, judged that, getting more people exposed to a wider lens of Agile coaching skills and analysis and competencies was worth it. So, for a while, in the last few years of Agile Coaching Institute, I was totally dedicated to that. And there was this growing sense of, I've got to get back to my own practice. And because that whole time, while I was teaching, I was also developing my own skills. I was taking deeper professional coaching curriculum. I was taking something called Integral Facilitator, which you all know about this program, which is a really deep facilitation program.
Yeah.
And I really wanted to use those skills. And I was using them in part in the classroom, but that's a very specific context. I wanted to use them where decisions are being made and where people are coming together and are struggling, which so many groups do. They just come together and struggle.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Wow. Keeping busy.
Actually, less busy than I have been. Much less. And I'm absolutely dedicated to keeping it that way, because I finally discovered sustainable pace. And it features a lot less work, which means I have to really rearrange my ideas of work and money and abundance. I've had a lot of my notions about those things get challenged in the last few years.
Yeah. Well, I know the feeling. I'm also less busy these days. And that's probably why you see me more often at the various webinars. You're like, you again? What are you doing here again?
It was a pleasure. It's been a pleasure to see your name pop up.
It's nice. It's nice to see you here and there. And yeah, I do invest a little more time on myself and more reading and attending various webinars and learning stuff, basically. So because when you're wall-to-wall coaching, it's a little tougher. It's a little tougher to invest time in discovering new things.
Yeah, I really feel like I'm in a really huge shift. Like I'm picking up a lot of new skills, but also just a lot more depth in my ability to use those skills. I feel like I'm in a total retooling phase right now, honestly.
Yeah. So is the being involved in the Lead Together audiobook, is that part of your retooling?
No, that's me opening my big mouth. And so here's what happened is that I'm on the phone with my friend, Susan Basterfield, who's one of the 3 co-authors of this book. Yeah. And, we've just become friends in the last year or so. And it's so wonderful to talk to someone who comes from a slightly different angle, but who's really passionate about the same things I am, which is essentially people working together at a much higher level that has a lot more ease and flow and results in it. And so, you know, we're chit-chatting, and she's talking about the Lead Together book, which had just come out in November, and this was maybe, this is just a few weeks after it came out. Maybe it was the week it came out.
Okay.
And she's talking about how they have all these audition tapes for these professional narrators, but no one really gets the content. They can read the words and the sentences, but they don't really get it. And all of a sudden I said, that book is so important. That material has to get out there. I want to do it. And I'm like, wait a minute, who just said that? Who just said I want to do it?
Get those words back in my mouth.
Exactly, because I had just finished recording my own audiobook. It's not like I, want to do this as a profession. But
maybe you will after that, after having it.
Maybe. Well, no, Isabel. I mean, really, this is a labor of love. Narrators don't get paid near enough for the amount of effort that goes into narration. That I can attest to now. I'll have a different deal with them. They're going to share some of the royalties with me because that's appropriate, given the fact that I'm not a professional narrator by trade, and I have, helped a bridge to the Agile community and all that. But so I sent them the same audition tape that they asked other people to send. And they were like, she's it. We need her to do it. And it's just because what we're dealing with now, this way of being at the integral level and beyond, hopefully pretty soon, is a completely new embodied way of being in the world. And that's what they said. They said, as soon as we heard your voice, we knew that you were the type of embodied leader that had to read this.
Okay. That's a beautiful compliment there.
Yeah, I know. It makes you go, oh, I wonder if I can, yikes. And I'm constantly judging myself as I'm narrating it.
Yeah, can I do that for 27 chapters?
Oh my gosh. I'm halfway through right now.
Because there's 27 chapters in this book.
Yeah, I know. Isabel will relate. This is the time in the pregnancy when you're like, yeah, this has been fun. I'm ready for this baby to come now.
Yes. Yeah.
But the book is so good.
Aren't we the one that suffered the most in this pregnancy thing? No?
I don't know.
Come on.
I'd love to find out how you think that.
I just want comments underneath the YouTube video, and then
I'll
say anything to get in any comment, please.
That's right.
So what's in this book? What is the book about at a high level?
So these folks are from the Future of Work community. They're also from the startup community, or founders. They work primarily with founders. Okay, yeah. And so the big question that all businesses have at some point when they start to grow is, how can we grow? How can we scale? And I'm going to put my own words on it, not theirs. How can we scale and not lose our soul?
Okay, yeah.
This teal thing sounds great. Yeah, I like the values. I'm aligned with that, but how? And that's what this book is a bunch of hows. You said there's 27 chapters. I try not to think about that, actually. but what I love about each of the chapters is that they are completely self-contained.
Yeah, they're very small. They're very short.
And very small, like 9 to 11 pages. The audios, I can tell you, are going to be about 15 minutes a piece. So like just really bite-sized, but full of incredibly practical things. Like, if you want to know what are 10 different examples of how to do compensation in a transparent way, there you go. Listen to a 15-minute audio chapter on compensation. The one I read this morning was about rituals, the importance of ritual and how you build ritual into organizations to create cadence, but also create sanctity and certainty. And they're just incredibly practical. It's like, I think of them as little vignettes on how you would know that someone was walking and talking the next octave of our future of work.
Yeah.
Teal and above, right?
And going from that self-organized individual teams to self-managed.
Yes, to self-managed.
Where we hire ourselves and we fire people ourselves, and we manage our own salaries and so on and so forth.
Yep. Yeah. And how does that then scale? And how can you have processes for example, decision making? Susan was involved in a company called Inspiral that created something called Lumio, which is a way of, it's a piece of software. Now again, these are my words, not theirs. This is the way I understand it. Okay. It's kind of like Facebook, because if you want to make a decision in the company, you put your decision, your problem and your decision rationale out there, and then you invite people who are affected by it to comment. Okay. And you can put a poll in there, or you can have it open comments. You can have all different kinds of things. And what it is a mechanism for affecting the consent process. And so once the person has received all the information, the input from other people about how this decision would affect them, then they make the decision and they publish it there. So it's also an archive of decisions that are made. And so Lumio has been used with organizations that have thousands of people. And so this is a way of being able to make decisions at what we all say in the Agile community, like at the level where it matters most, like as far down in the organization where the people really have the information, right? So it's a way to have that happen, but be able to, number one, consult people who need to be consulted, make a decision and not get gridlocked on it, and then have an archive of them. Because, we always go what decision did we make again? You thought it was that, I thought it was this. So this helps avoid that. So that's just one tiny example of one little thing that's in this book, but it's full of stuff like that.
I'm seeing parallels with the advice process.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's very much related. This is a mechanism for executing the advice process in a larger organization.
Because that's one thing that I believe it's in Lalou's book, the advice process. I believe that's where I read it. And it really, it shook me. So basically the line worker is able to make a decision of buying a $1 million piece of equipment. Okay.
That's right.
Really interesting. But you follow the advice process and intellectually understand it. Practically, I'm trying to wrap my head around it. And maybe this book, I learned of the existence of this book last week when we exchanged on what we wanted to talk about during the podcast, and didn't get a chance to read it.
They have a pretty good example there from a CEO of a company in Sweden, and he gives exactly this example. He's someone in the company would say to him, "You mean I can buy a computer for 40,000 crowns when and just an okay computer would be 15,000 crowns? I mean, it would work, but the one with 40,000 would be great." And the response is, well, you could, but then everyone would see you as a poor decision maker. So you probably won't. So see how this is really upping the ante on us having very accountability laden and human relationships with each other.
Do they have it's a bunch of hows, but are they real examples in real life?
Tons of them. Tons of them. I mean, there are so many companies and examples in the book that there's a gigantic list of all the companies and what the companies do in the back of the book. And that's going to be in a PDF that's going to be accompany the audiobook.
Even in the preview on the look inside in Amazon, you see all the list of companies at the end. There's just so many. It's crazy. Who knew?
Yeah. Who knew? I'm learning a lot. I'm learning a lot because I would probably say that my value system and my orientation in the world is probably commensurate with the teal level. But even in my own very small business, when we brought on just a few extra people to our little hive, we totally downshifted into mechanistic, results driven, kind of thinking.
KPIs.
And thank God we had a great coach at the time. She's like, you all are sounding like the clients that you say are having such a hard time making this shift. You're sounding like them now. And we were like, oh my God, we're doing it too.
Oh yeah. Wow.
So this book will help people like us who are starting to build their businesses and especially when they want to really scale, like when the business is called to grow, it will help them do it and keep these modern and humane and more effective, I think, ways of working intact.
Meaningful. Yeah, absolutely. The chapter that really caught my eye is the first one, leadership redefined. What does that mean?
It's the one I'm going to record last.
Really? Oh,
yeah.
You're doing this like a Hollywood movie.
Well, actually, it's kind of interesting. I'm doing it by what interests me.
Oh,
because I have not read the entire book.
Okay.
And so what I do is I look at whatever topic interests me the most in that moment. I'm like, okay, that's what I'm going to do, because my interest will be in it. My curiosity will be up. I think it'll be more live that way. And I'm just so interested in learning. But I have read that chapter. In fact, that chapter was the audition piece.
Okay.
And the two first words in that chapter are power and leadership. Power and leadership.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's something we don't hear often in the agile spheres. Power. What do you mean by power in this context?
I don't know. I feel like I need to look at the book
now.
Sorry. I don't remember exactly what I don't remember exactly what they're saying here, but they're talking about those being two of the most overloaded words in business, and how we're not very clear about them.
Absolutely. So what was the first chapter that you explored and recorded that really caught your eye?
What was the first chapter? Oh, that's an interesting question. I'm halfway through it, so it feels like, halfway through 27 chapters, it feels like it's hard to.
Yes.
I'm gonna look. I'm gonna cheat.
Go. Absolutely. There's
what's the first one? We have this
psychological
safety
safety is a big one these days.
Yeah, I haven't done that one yet.
You mentioned rituals earlier.
Rituals was this morning. That was the one I had to throw away. I have to redo it tomorrow morning. It's
because
sad.
of the crackling noises. Yeah,
it's kind of sad. Yeah.
Personal.
Let's see. Back in December. Oh, radical responsibility. I think
radical
was the first
responsibility.
one.
All right.
Learn and help others to take action. Maybe that wasn't the first. Oh. Yeah, I think it was.
So if it was,
I think it was the first.
Why did it catch your eye?
Oh, no, it wasn't. Conscious language. Know that words matter was the first one.
Okay. Yeah.
That one had my attention because at that time we were just about, Leslie Morris and I were just finishing up the, I think it's going to be 12 or 13 episodes of a Women in Agile podcast around the Coaching Agile Team's audiobook. And all the content I wanted to make available to people in lieu of writing a second edition to that book. Because there's all kinds of people who are advancing the ball of Agile coaching now, and I just need to point to them. I mean, they're the ones who are taking it forward. I don't need to be in the limelight anymore. That light needs to shine in these other places. So that's what that audiobook podcast was all about. And at the time, we had just been talking about the episode about language. I think it's the third episode of the podcast. Maybe it's coming out this week, actually.
Okay.
About what I learned about language when I was recording the audiobook and how my language had changed in 10 years and the places where I shifted it. And so it was just sort of in the air, this idea of knowing that words matter. And so that's why I recorded that one first.
So a few examples of language used in an organization, would you be referring to things such as resources versus human beings?
No, because I never used that language in the Coaching Agile Team's book 10 years ago.
Okay.
But I did use very unexamined language like militaristic things.
Okay.
Like I would say, let's use live ammo.
Okay.
And when I read that, I was like, why would I even say that? I mean, instead of saying what I really mean is let's use your real life scenario.
Yeah. What kind of language that you notice in organizations from the management level, for example, that you felt did not convey the true objective that we were trying to reach?
I think I hear a lot of language from managers and people who have positional leadership in organizations that makes it sound like they're very trapped.
Okay.
I hear them say things like, we have to push for results. And I'm like, really? And And I wonder how many other places that we sort of feel trapped by our systems. And I think that that's what's coming up now for leadership teams, is that the leaders are genuinely feeling the pain of a world that is working in a way that doesn't match the way that they've been working for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's very painful.
Yeah.
So my compassion for leaders and organizations has really grown. And also narrating this Lead Together book, which, because so much of it is about, actually all of it is about, okay, so you're a founder of an organization and now it's scaling up. And now what happens to you?
Mm-hmm. You have to let go.
Lots of letting go.
Because I've worked in maybe 300 to 400 people organizations, and the president was still coding.
Yeah.
And it wasn't very good code.
That's a problem.
So letting go for that person was extremely, extremely difficult, for sure.
Mm-hmm. You're talking about compassion for managers and leaders, and I understand that's people you're working a lot with these days. You're working with, with executives and everything. So there's a lot of people saying in books or in the community that not a lot of books have been written for executives in the Agile world. So do you think there is a big gap? What are your references? What do you base yourself on to work with them? It's a really large question.
It's a really large and very good question, because you're right. I don't refer to anything in the Agile world when I work with leaders. You're just making me realize this now. It's kind of why didn't I realize this before? But when I work with leaders, the one book, actually now there are two books that I do refer to, but obliquely. So the two books that I talk about with leaders that came from the Agile space are Evolve Agility, written by Michael Hammond, and the new book that just came out, Agile Transformation, written by Michael Spade and Michelle Medor. Mm-hmm. So you all know those two Michaels I've been in business with for a long time in various forms and formats. But that's not where I start with leaders. Not even close. I start with, so what's going on in the way you all work as a group, and what are you dissatisfied with? And so I'm using much more these days. I'm using more organization, relationship, systems coaching skills. I love bringing in the leadership circle profile, because it really grounds for these leaders what their quote unquote Agile transformation is, which essentially is growing up from the problem solving addiction that most of them still have. Case in point of the founder who's still programming. And into the outcome creating competencies, which create the environment for other people to be creative and brilliant and deliver. And also catapults us into the much higher stakes of the relationship skills that are now needed, now that we're in a world that is far less mechanistic and, at least on the surface, seemingly stable.
And you've seen transformation. I'm pretty sure you've seen people transformed, in the long run of your work with them, or not just you, but the fact that they live different things, and plus the fact that you're there. So can you tell us stories of these kind of transformation or aha moment that you've lived with them?
This is really enjoyable. Thanks for these questions. I'm thinking through now. I work with them for maybe at the most 6 months. And when I say them, I mean the individual leaders and the team. Sometimes I'm coaching both levels, the individuals on the team, sometimes just the leadership team. Like most Agile coaches these days, we're not sitting with them.
Mm-hmm.
So what the interaction with them is through coaching sessions and through being there live during their meetings to stop action and coach in the moment.
Mm-hmm.
But it's, so I'm saying all of that to say, I have seen major changes. And would we say that that's a transformation that everyone, or at least most people in the organization, can see? I don't know. And in some ways, I just tell myself, that's not my job to worry about that. My job is to take them as far as they're willing to go. And that's it. I mean, like, I actually don't get to see the results of my work most of the time.
Because you're there for 6 months. So.
Even if I were there for longer, I wouldn't, because I'm not in the organization.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not, none of us are anymore, embedded physically.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So I'm kind of enjoying the fact that the entire world is not embedded physically. Well, first of all, I can work with people in Australia and Belgium, and that's really wonderful. But the other thing that I like about it is that I think it is helping the profession of Agile and leadership coaches to have the clients meet us 100%.
Mm-hmm.
To take up their true co-responsibility for the relationship versus relying on an Agile coach being there all the time, seeing them, and then that's the person that brings up the topics that they think they should talk about. Mm-hmm. Instead, the team that's being coached has to come to the conversation with the topic.
That's true.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I like that. I like that a lot.
Yeah. At a high level, are you seeing a certain evolution in mindset of leaders, or like you said, like named leaders in organizations? I asked a question because I've had a few gigs in large corporations, and it was tough.
Yeah,
it was difficult.
So I have to really consider where I am supposed to be planted.
Mm-hmm.
And because I'm only one person, sometimes I work with a few colleagues, but we can't do a gigantic thing, nor do we want to. And so if I ask myself the question, where is my greatest impact? It's not with leaders of gigantic corporations.
Mm-hmm.
It's not. And in fact, it's so not that I don't even attract them. I mean, like, they don't even come as possible clients of mine.
Yeah.
So the people who come as possible clients of mine are people who are in organizations, maybe with like 3,000, 4,000, 5,000 people, so fairly large organizations.
Yeah.
But they already have the realization that the world has changed, and they've got to look inside and find what's going on here that's preventing their organization from succeeding.
Mm-hmm.
So they already know that. I don't even attract the people who are oblivious to that fact.
So they're easier to coach. I mean, they want to be coached. And
yeah, right.
You just said something huge. I mean, huge.
What?
Getting leaders to look inside.
Yeah.
That is extremely, extremely rare. I do not witness it a lot. They have the problem. They need to change. They need to whatever. I've rarely seen individuals at the management level where they say, I need to introspect. I need to take time and allow myself to, it's mentioned in the book, challenge that paradigm that I have regarding something, that deeply rooted belief, and see if I can challenge it myself on a daily basis. Not even with a weekly meeting with a coach. On a daily basis, allow myself to question how I interact with John, Mary, and Paul on Tuesday afternoon.
Well, a lot of organizations are dying because of it. And I say the faster they can die, the better.
Oh.
I mean, honestly. So we're in this huge turnover of organizational structures and types of leaders and organizations that are going to make it into the future and the ones that aren't.
Mm. It's
Right.
that's kind of the reaction I had when I read the reinventing organizations, Lalou, and I said, "What's the point of coaching? It's going to happen anyways." The red organization died out, replaced by the orange or whatever, and then the green, and then at some point, teal will just happen. We just need to sit back and watch it happen. Obviously, it's hard to build that kind of situation.
Well, I mean, I often think that what I'm really doing is softening up the existing world for my daughter's generation.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
So do you think companies that are orange, or they can change their culture? Do you believe it's possible that they get?
No, I don't think it's possible they'll change their culture.
No?
I don't. Especially if they're any size.
Mm. Yeah.
I mean, if they're large, forget it. I mean, there's just...
I know this goes against systems thinking, but in very large corporation, I just try to create a local environment that is nice to work in, human, that is a division. Like in French, say a direction versus a VP, big division, where there's maybe 50, 60 employees. And we did practice a bit of self-management about a year ago. We did a self-selection activity. And this is in a huge financial institution. And it was like a big thing. And it did make the life more fun, more pleasant, more human for the people in that local optimization.
Yeah.
Did it hurt the system in itself? To be seen.
Yeah. You know, Margaret Wheatley, in her book, Who Do We Choose to Be? She calls that creating islands of sanity.
Islands of sanity. Isn't that beautiful?
That's really what you can do. I mean, that's really what we're up to right now, because we are in, she says, and I tend to believe her, that we are in a time of collapse. And so with so many things getting dissolved or disintegrated, what can you do? You can create islands of sanity. And from those, new things will spring up. So, you know, I sort of said this like no answer to Isabel a minute ago. And then now I'm thinking, well, so hang on though, because those orange organizations are going to continue to have pressures put on them that they are not a match for. And so one of two things will happen, just like happens with an individual human being. They will either expand and move to a more complete or just a larger worldview and a bigger value system. They can include more, or they will regress and maybe die, or maybe just stay regressed. I mean, it's sort of not up to me what happens. It's actually totally not up to me what happens as I think about it, you know.
It will be interesting to see though.
Yeah. Well, I do know this. The Fortune 500 list has shorter and shorter and shorter lifespans of
from 80
the companies.
years to 15?
Yeah.
About?
Yeah. And it's just ridiculous. And it's projected to be even shorter than that in the next 10 years. So we're definitely seeing a lot of this turnover. And I think the main messages are that nothing is for sure. And if you're not learning, you're probably dying. So organizations that don't learn won't make it.
I'm enjoying that island of sanity.
Yes. An island of sanity.
We should add that to our website, Isabel. We create for you large, humongous organizations, we'll create nice islands of sanity. And we'll interface with the chaotic world outside of it.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Really interesting. So, but having said that, how do you choose your clients?
I really don't, because as a solopreneur, I can only handle a few at a time. I've realized my carrying capacity is about 3, because when I work with a client, they're in my mind all the time. all the time. I have a really lively dreaming world as well. And so I'm constantly dreaming about my clients and my work and getting information from all different kinds of sources. So, you know, I don't need that many in a year. And so they just tend to come to me. And one of my largest clients last year that I had an amazing time working with was just someone who contacted me through contact us on lyssaadkins.com. And I'm like, oh, did so-and-so in your organization connect you with me? And she's like, no, I don't even know that person. So, you know, I'm fortunate that the work I've done before is a gigantic business card. People have a sense of, well, I've had to do a big shift from, you know, the identity of coach of Agile coaches to Agile and leadership coach. But in general, people have a sense of what they can ask me to participate with.
And how would you refuse a client? Somebody contacts you through Lyssa Adkins and .com, and you say, "I'm sorry, good luck, but we won't be working together." First of all, does that happen? And if it does, why?
It doesn't happen together where I know it from the email.
Okay.
I mean, there are plenty of totally cold call things where it's clear the person doesn't know me at all, and my assistant just ignores them. Right. So like those sorts of things, we don't even bother with. Yeah. But if it's someone who's saying, you know, such and such is happening in my organization, and I don't know if we need training or coaching, and we're having this problem, you know, I'll say, okay, let's get a conversation. And it's just in the way I interact with them that they are either then attracted to go to the deeper level I want to take them to, or something happens and it doesn't ever land. Usually they will close the loop with me by saying, you know, we had this big project spin up and now we don't have time to do that. And I'm like, okay.
No problem.
Yeah. Because, you know, I just basically start working. In the very first conversation, I just start working. Yeah. And so I'll ask them the questions I would ask them if I were already a consultant of theirs. And the questions are fairly challenging. I mean, there are things that I think that people should know, but they don't. Things like, why are you doing this? Yeah.
Any keywords that set you off? You go, I think this gig will have a lifespan of half an hour. I asked a question because I have my list of keywords that, okay, all right, you don't need me. Yeah.
I mean, I think I do have my list of keywords. I don't hear them often by the people who come to me, though.
Okay.
I only hear them when the people who come to me feel like they're getting put in a box and they are being made to sort of downgrade their value system, and usually because their organization is growing. And so that's the example I gave earlier where the guy was like, well, you know, now we're going to be measured on success metrics and people are just going to have to get used to that. Yeah. And I'm like, ding, ding, ding. Really? So let's just slow that one down a bit and really dive into that. And so if the leader is open, and I only work with ones that are, I'll be able to say, okay, so what part of that really hurts you? And at first I might get a lot of bluster and blah, 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 like, well, it doesn't really hurt me. It's just we have to buckle down and do it or whatever. Okay. And then I'll just be still. A couple seconds passes and they're like, well, it really does suck because now the venture capitalists are asking for X, Y, and Z, and we never had to do that before. And I don't really know how to answer those questions. Now we got a ball game.
Wow.
I'm looking for advice at this point. How do you deal? Let's say you're more coaching. No, as an agile coach, we're all, we can be teacher, coaching, or sometimes mentor. How would you deal with someone that you're a little more in the mentoring stance, and the person is response or their response is always, I know. Isabel knows what I'm talking about.
You have someone in mind. Am I doing shadow coaching now? Is that what's going on here?
We've been working together for what now? What, 15 years now, I guess?
Oh,
so yeah, how It's basically, for me, it's like nails on a chalkboard.
Yeah.
It really gets to me. It's all right. If you know everything, then nice, no disrespect, very good. A nice handshake. And since you know everything, I'll let you off, and I'll go with somebody that is willing to explore new possibilities. And that's probably the wrong thing to do.
Well, not necessarily. I mean, we all do the best we can do in every situation. If that's the best that needs to happen in that moment, if that's what the two of you are up to, then that's all right. When I am doing coaching and mentoring work, I have a really durable designed alliance with the people that I'm doing that work with before we even get to the point where they would be saying, I know to me.
Okay. Yeah.
So, for example, I've already negotiated with them. So what will it be like when I challenge you?
Nice.
What does challenge even look like to you? And how will I know if it's enough? And how will I know if it's too much? How do you like to be given feedback? Because I'll be giving you lots of feedback.
Like a working agreement between.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And so if I got that response, I know, I would be able to be, 100% online and not worry about how I'm going to come across, because we already have that durable relationship in place, and I'm going to rely on that. And I'd say something like, so what's it like to know everything?
That's a nuclear bomb right there.
Now, it's not in a way of I'm pitting myself against them. It's in the way of being able to have them see how they are being, So that might happen. Or maybe it's a little bit different. Maybe I know. I get the feeling of there's something else here. And so I might just say, just hang on for a second, because we're talking about this topic, but there's something else here. And then we'll just do that. We'll just be quiet for a second and see what happens. And maybe that takes us in a different territory.
Sound advice from Lyssa Adkins.
I have a feeling that you use a lot the silence.
Yeah, not as a tool or a tactic, but just as a way of giving the other person time to think.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't advocate using it as a weapon or a manipulation tool, which it can, people can do it for that reason, but that's not how I like to be. It's not how I want to see other people be, who I influence. I think
any coaching tool, that's true. Even powerful questions.
Oh my gosh,
you can questions.
You can use it all for evil if you want.
Yeah, that's something I learned not that long ago. That powerful questions need to be ethical.
Yes.
Are you willing to ask that question to yourself? So powerful questions is not enough. They have to be ethical, powerful questions. So, oh man, one more thing to think about.
Yeah.
Ethical and biological and organic.
And organic, yeah.
And organic, yeah.
I'm thinking about one more situation where I often the bell to switch from mentoring to coaching rings for me. And I think this might be related to what you're talking about, Eric, too.
Yeah,
Do we want to have one more little thing here?
I would love it.
Okay. You're talking with someone, you're primarily in a mentoring stance, and you're offering things. So you offer the first thing and it's like, yeah, that's a good idea, but no. And you offer the second thing, oh no, we tried that, no. You offer the third thing, no, I don't think so. The third one is the time for me to switch to coaching, because there is something going on about, and I get curious, like what part of this person actually doesn't want to solve this? So I might ask that. I might first articulate the relationship. Okay, so here's what's happening in the relationship. I've offered 3 things that are plausible, and you've shut them all down in the first sentence out of your mouth. So what part of you actually doesn't want to solve this? Now, I don't know if there's a part of them that doesn't want to solve it. But that question will have them evaluate. I don't know. Is there a part of me that doesn't want to solve this? And so that takes us somewhere.
Yeah.
If there is. And if there isn't, then they'll go, no, I'm totally in on this. And I'll say, so what's going on? And then that might have them go, oh, well, you know what? I know I'm going to have a conversation with the VP about this, and it just hasn't worked the last 4 times. I've tried this. Okay, now we're talking about where the rubber meets the road.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Hmm.
It sounds familiar.
Yeah, no doubt. It's so common. You know, I often think if we helped one another practice pivotal conversations, courageous conversations, fierce conversations, whatever you call them, all those books on, you know, fierce, courageous, pivotal conversations are all really good books. They have great advice. But if we practiced them with each other before trying them with someone else, it would go so much better.
Practice pivotal conversations.
Yeah.
That's a book in itself. Probably is a book already.
There is.
Yeah. There you go.
There is. It's called Pivotal Conversations. There's one called Fierce Conversations, and they're great. They actually have like templates in them of like, here's how you get yourself ready.
Yeah. It's funny you mentioned that because we talked briefly before the recording of Joe Raylan, and that's how he describes leadership as practice. Leadership not being associated less with an individual in the way he or she thinks or the things that he or she does, but leadership being the result of conversation that generates change, or as you said, pivotal conversation. And leadership emerges very dynamically from one person to the next. Mm-hmm. It's never associated permanently, I would say, to one individual.
That's what I hope to see in the world. Yeah. It really is. Yeah, because I use the word leaderfulness, which is not really a word.
Say that again.
Leaderfulness.
Leaderfulness. Nice. Yeah.
Because the idea is that someone who is leaderful in this moment needs to come forward and lead us. They might have superior technical or content knowledge. Mm-hmm. They might be more skilled. They might just have more energy or bandwidth, whatever. Mm-hmm. I mean, this is their time to step into their leadership. And then when it's someone else's, they step in, you know. So in order to do that, we all have to have leaderfulness, the ability to step in and to step back.
Yeah, and not to mention collaborative leadership. So this person has the technical leadership, but does not necessarily have the right words to communicate it, but his co-worker does have the human language to share that information, and the other person here has the energy to assemble people together, and so it's basically it's not only one person, it's a collective effort.
Yeah, I know a group is working well at any level, a team and also executives in a boardroom. I know they're working well when I can watch leadership move around.
Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Wow. Oh my. So you're done with the book soon? You only have 18 chapters to go.
This month we'll be done with it.
How come it took like 9 or 10 years for you to do the audiobook for Coaching Agile Teams?
Do you know what's interesting is that the publisher, Pearson, had a belief baked into their organization that people wouldn't buy audiobooks that were technical. And because Coaching Agile Teams is up underneath the technical part of their business and not the business part, I had been asking for years and years, please let me record the audio. People really want me to record the audio. And so I had just sort of given up. But then I got a new editor.
Oh.
And so when she came in, and then like the craziest thing happened, like a year after she came in, this is right before the pandemic started, I got a royalty statement. They come in January and then in the middle of the year, or February, and I got it. And I'm noticing, my God, the sales of Coaching Agile Teams keep going up. This is a 10-year-old book. It's crazy. It's crazy. And then I thought, that's a new publisher. She might be able to get a different answer. Mm-hmm. And so I asked again, and this was just in February, just as the pandemic was becoming in big and into our awareness. And she went and asked, and she got, I think she did a little bit of strategizing and got a totally different answer. And so they brought people from the business section of Pearson into this other section for us to do the audiobook, because the business folks knew how to do audiobooks for their books.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping that more in our Agile bookshelf at Pearson will have audiobooks now.
Yeah.
One of our colleagues only does audiobooks.
Yeah. He hears to them. He hears them while he runs.
He runs.
That's when I listen to them, when I'm walking. Yeah. I'm virtually walking the Appalachian Trail right now. I'm still in North Carolina. It goes from Georgia to Maine.
That's nice.
Oh my
That's
God.
Nice.
Okay,
Wow.
nice. So it doesn't surprise me why your books, the sales are going up, because it's still a reference for a lot of coaches like me. I mean, I suggest that book to every Scrum Master I meet. Mm-hmm. And one of them, actually, I talked to him today, and we were talking about the chapter about facilitating retrospectives, and I was telling him I was meeting you tonight, and he was like really impressed, and I was I said
I'm really impressed too, so there you go.
I said, do you have a question for her? And he was like, oh my God, let me think about it. And then I just received this question. So.
Oh. Really? Oh my gosh, this is exciting. Okay, so what's his name?
His name is Christian. So, okay, Christian Palmer says, okay, so if I had the opportunity to ask something, I would ask, what's the advice you give to someone like me that is in the middle of a crossroad between being a dev and a Scrum Master role? So he's in a transition right now. Mm-hmm. So, and I said, advice for what? Kind of not clear, but he would say, what can help me in this transition? I'm going to a developer.
You know, I have never been in that transition. And I think it's really important to know where you can mentor someone and where you can't. Mm-hmm. So this is a place where I actually can't mentor him, but that's my advice, actually, is for him to get a mentor who has successfully made that shift from dev to Scrum Master. Someone he can talk to, and someone who, like my mentor did, can be there to see when you're falling back into old patterns and you don't even know it. Yeah. You know, be the one to just very lovingly but firmly go, you're doing it again.
Yeah, I could offer some advice.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, I would recommend that he does it in immunity map.
Oh yeah, that's a great idea. Yeah.
And to listen to the podcast on how to do that, because that was exactly our test case. We took a developer that wants to be collaborative and a coaching stance and all that, because he's becoming a Scrum Master, but he was a development lead, but it just hurts too much. He can't do it. He needs to tell people what to do. We built an immunity map, like a fake, I guess, immunity map, and Mathieu was our test case, and it was a lot of fun. I
love it. The other thing, I just got a random card, which is perfect. So I know we can't see this very well, but this is the Inspire Me app.
Yeah.
You know, I've had that Inspire Me deck for a few years now that Deb Preuss and my husband and I made. Oh, you have it in your hand. I love it.
I bought it from you at Business Agility like 3 years ago.
I remember. Yeah.
New York, yeah.
So we're in the last, I think we have 70 of those left, and we're not going to do another run.
Oh my God.
So that's it. If you have friends who you want to have the physical deck, get it. Because we have the iOS app, and I hope that we'll have an Android app. And this is so pretty. I love this. You can get a random card. And the one I just got is a person with a picture that says, thank you. And it says, appreciation is a wonderful thing. It makes what is excellent in others belong to us as well. Voltaire said that. So that's my feeling of appreciation for the two of you, and also for your friend. This app is free. Like the first 7 cards it comes with are enough to get started with. I think we all need inspiration.
I don't have that.
I know. I'm so sorry. It's only iOS right now.
Yeah, me too.
I feel discriminated against.
I know. I know. Oh, well.
Oh, well.
Oh, well.
If you let me, I have this other question that burns my mouth. I don't know if I can say that in English, but since yesterday, you have this interesting background behind you, and there was. So it's not virtual background. It's your real wall behind.
No, it's so meta. Are you ready? This is crazy. It is like it's called a tapestry, but it's really like a tablecloth. It's just thin.
Okay.
It's actually clipped to my green screen that's hanging from my wall, because my ceiling rather, because I got really tired of not having a physical background, but I wanted to be able to change it. Yeah, so it's very meta. It's actually a screen on top of a screen.
It's great. So it's great. It depends on your mood, I guess.
Yeah, this is for this week. You know, and if I want to change it in the middle of the week, I will. But usually I go for a week. Last week it was really calm mountains. But this week I wanted something more vibrant.
Okay. So someone yesterday was asking if it was you that did the painting.
Yeah, I know. I couldn't get to the chat fast enough to answer it before it flew by. So, yeah.
So many people yesterday. It was crazy. It was crazy.
So it's not you, I guess.
No.
You don't paint?
I don't paint. I do something called Zentangle, which is like really complex things like this, but I don't paint.
So Zentangle is like little drawings, like
teeny tiny. Yeah.
It's really something. It's like meditation, or
that's why it's called Zentangle. Yeah. Right. Yeah. You're meant to not know what you're drawing when you're doing it. You're just following a pattern.
Yeah.
So it's a very mind cleansing activity, and I love it.
Zentangle.
Yep.
Zentangle. Yeah, it was one of the workshop last year at Spark. 2 years ago at Spark the Change, and he had this whole workshop plan. I was like not in the workshop. I was going to the door, and every time I was looking at the person that was facilitating the workshop, he was drawing, with this little camera on top of the table.
Oh, we're losing Isabelle.
Oh, we're losing her.
Oh
no.
We lost you there
but yeah. I know. I lost you guys too.
Yeah.
Okay, so it was just drawing for like an hour and a half, and I was like, "Whoa, that's cool."
Yeah, it's really wonderful. They can take me quite a while to do sometimes, but that's okay because there's no goal involved. It's just doing it for the activity of doing it. And in fact, I usually get like really disappointed with myself halfway through, and then I remind myself, "Hang on. There's no goal here." And then I think it looks horrible. And then by the end, I'm like, "Oh, that's pretty cool." Try to see if I can find one. I can't find one quick enough in my photos to show you all, but they're really, really cool.
I'll put a link to Zentangles in the description. Below.
Yeah, do that. I really think it is a huge, wonderful thing that people can do. I mean, anywhere. I mean, you just need a piece of paper and a thin line pencil or something, or pen.
Why don't you send one to us after, and we can put it in the...
I will. I'll find one. We have lots of pictures of them.
Great.
Lyssa,
I'll come back to you.
I need to ask you, let's conclude on this, Lyssa.
Okay.
The obvious question, because of this time of what's happening these days, not COVID related, Agile 20 Reflect. 20-year Agile Manifesto, 20 years old. What's next? What's happening? What's going to happen? Tell us. Give us your crystal ball. Share your crystal ball knowledge.
I think we're going to choose one of two routes. One route will be, is this true? No, I think we're going to be forced down a path. So I was going to say the two routes we could choose is one would be to continue to deny that complexity exists and try to continue to make everything black and white, opposite ends of a polarity, really cut and dried. And I so feel the impulse for that in our world right now. And I get it because the world is confounding. It's uncertain. It's incredibly complex. There's this new There's this new thing of like, it's called like VUCA on steroids. It's that change is persistent, pervasive, and exponential. And so that's a horrible place to be if you really want to just have a simple life. So I was going to say that we could choose to go down the path of just sort of ignoring complexity and our ever increasing entanglement and interconnectivity. But I don't think that's going to happen. I think what will happen is that exponential technology will drive us forward to have to work with it more. So when I think about Agile, I think that Agile is the first of its kind, because the entire premise of Agile is to work with the world as you find it. Instead of believing that you can predict and plan and control the world, which every other method in business that we think about that came prior to Agile is like that. Like my husband keeps saying, like, Lyssa, you've been riding this Agile wave for a long time. When is this wave going to end? Because he's used to CMMI, ISO 9000 for software, various flavors of plan-driven project management, that Six Sigma, that did rise and fall very quickly. And they were all built on sort of the old model, the model of the organization as machine. Right. So Agile is the first thing built on the model of organization as ecosystem, let's say.
Living things.
And so I think that we're just going to continue to move in the direction of human relationships being the engine by which things get done, and working with reality as we see it. So I don't know if we'll continue to call it Agile or not, but I think we will continue to work with complexity rather than trying to ignore it or collapse it.
Let's hope so.
Agile will, I'm thinking that the word Agile will disappear. It will be replaced with something else, but we keep replacing it with something else that says the same thing over and over again. I studied Kirk Lewin in university, and quality circles and OD and
all that stuff was way ahead of its time.
Lean 18 something with Toyota. So it's it'll be relabeled and new energy be injected. I have dibs on the word nimble, by the way. So
do you? Okay.
Yeah. It's not copyrighted.
I just figured out mine. I want mine to be acrobatic.
Acrobatic.
Mine's going to be acrobatic.
Man, I'm regretting my word.
Trademark that now.
Acrobatic. Will we move the word software? Acrobatic experience development.
It's totally not software. Acrobatic for acrobatic living. I don't know.
Acrobatic. I like it. I asked a question yesterday, and I was surprised at the amount of conversation it generated. I asked a question: what if 50% of the participants in 2001 when the manifesto was created were women?
That was your question, huh?
That was my question.
It did. It opened a lot of conversation.
Yeah. A bit of a violent reaction from Alice there.
I was defensive.
At first, but
I think he's been getting this question a lot.
Yeah, that's the thing. That's the thing. Yeah, but I still wonder. I wonder what it would be.
I think it would have been totally different, and I don't think it could have happened at that time.
Yeah, there were not a lot of women in that space.
Come on. Yeah. I mean, you have to roll back. This is the important thing, is like we have to roll back the tape to what was so at that time. And if history had been completely different, and we had then valued the feminine energy and the feminine leadership capacities like we're starting to now, then it would have been totally different. But history would have had to be different.
Oh, wow. Absolutely. Revisionist history. You can have fun with it, but like you say, you have to roll back the tape and go back into that context.
Absolutely. So, could they have done a better job? Maybe. I think about, in my life, how I just trip from one event to the next that other people are organizing that I'm part of. I'm not paying attention to all the details of who's invited and how it's getting constructed and all that. So
I do now.
I mean,
I do now.
You do?
I pay close attention. We're preparing a little information capsule. We call it the Sprinkler Nanos, basically sharing information. It's 5 women, 1 man, and because I asked, I make sure I asked 50. I was 50-50. I asked the same amount of men than the amount of women. It was a conscious effort. Where maybe 2 years ago, I would not have done that.
Well, so yeah. I feel like something got collapsed there that I want to clean up.
Go ahead.
When I say I'm rolling from one event to the next and not paying attention to how it's constructed, I'm really not caring that much about how people are constructing their own events, but things that I am intimately involved in, I care a lot about, which is why I've been championing other people's business, other women's business specifically. 10 Women Strong and the Personal Agility System. 2 things that I really feel strongly that can shape and strengthen the Agile community at its foundation, both of them. And both of them things that I don't own. They're not my businesses, but I think it's important to support them.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so I think in that same way, we're much more aware now that there are these systemic issues, systemic processes, systemic weights that have been in our system for a long time that have successfully kept women's voices small or non-existent. Yeah. And so we're doing lots of things to reverse that. What you're talking about is certainly part of that. And I'm glad that people are working on more of the systems issues, at least some of them, because that's not where my mind goes. That's not where I'm the most brilliant in my work. But where I am really effective is working with women and helping them dismantle the ones that they have put inside themselves.
Yeah. Very nice. Lyssa, what's next for you? So it's time for scoops now.
Time for scoops now?
Scoops.
What's a scoop?
What's a scoop?
Yeah.
What's a scoop? I thought that was a word in English.
Like give me the scoop.
Yeah.
No.
The insider information of what's next for Lyssa Adkins.
What's next for me is not having much of a plan for what's next, honestly. Yeah. And I, in this world where our context is being so shifted around us, I've really been practicing the feminine leadership capacity of surrender. And I've been very surrendered to the fact that the world is changing so much around me. And when I see the place that I can contribute, I'm going to move in that direction. And so that's why I've been really focused just lately. It's just come into focus on decision making, and helping radically improve the quality of our decision making. But there's not like a thing that I'm doing about that. It's not like I have a 4-point plan. What I'm doing is just saying, okay, bring me experiences because I need to learn. That's what I'm doing.
That's nice.
So I guess that's the scoop, is that I'm learning.
It's a nice one. I like that scoop. Very good. Merci beaucoup, Lyssa.
De rien.
Oh. We should have done this in French. What the heck?
Almost.
That's it. That's it. You just heard it all, and I'm already getting red in the face because I know the pronunciation is horrible. So
you pronounced it like my name, actually, Terrien.
Terrien?
Yeah, I did. It's pretty bad. I know.
Well, speaking of Terrien, merci beaucoup aussi, Isabelle. Thank you very much for being there.
Merci à toi, Eric.
So enjoy the rest of your evening, and we'll see
you.
each other somewhere on the internets at some point.
For sure.
All right.